It is a brand new edition of Flyers Daily, an edition, frankly, that we've waited a very long time for. It is September 23rd, and Flyers Daily is always presented by Ticketmaster, Make More Memories Live. It's been 160 days since the Flyers ended the 23-24 season, and we finally got the game back on the ice a night ago. Granted, preseason. To discuss that, training camp, and much more, from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com, it is Bill Meltzer. Welcome, Hockey Back, Bill, and welcome to you.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic to have hockey back. The skating test, the scrimmages, and then the preseason opener. And I love how it builds, right? Rookie camp to the rookie games to the skating test to a simulation kind of game to your first preseason game, and it won't be more than a couple of games to be okay. Let's get the season going, right? But but it's just great to have it back. It felt like forever,
They don't waste any time getting the games. It was one rookie camp practice, back-to-back games, and then a couple of days in the day 2 after the skate, it's scrimmages, and day 3, and then the first preseason game. And there'll be another preseason game coming up tonight. It's not like the old days of football, 3 weeks up at Lehigh before the first actual preseason game. So that's good. Were you surprised, Bill, at the crowd on Saturday at the Skate Zone or Flyers Training Center? Because I pulled in, it was scrimmages. Obviously, it's open to the public and free to the public.
Yeah. And
it was absolutely jammed. I can't remember the last time it was like that.
It was absolutely packed. No, I mean it's definitely been a while. It was really back in the years when the Flyers every year were expected to come in being a contender, and every year they started the first 2 days of camp or a big celebration. They'd have the meet the team thing and the other events going on, and now also with the training facility just renovated, and a lot of excitement around Matvei Michkov and other things too. The Flyers did expect to have a bigger than normal crowd with the things going on that day, but I think that even exceeded that. I mean, you could just if you weren't there, you can look at the videos. You can just see it. It's packed, and that's that's just a great atmosphere. So.
Yeah, it was really cool because there's just kind of a vibe and a buzz in the building, and I think we really started to see that, Bill, last season, when this team surprised a lot of people amidst low expectations, put themselves in the mix. And obviously the way it ended, nobody wanted to see with, struggling against inferior opponents to miss the playoffs. But I think a lot of Flyer fans kind of are believing again in what the organization is doing. And I'm not going to start with Michkov because I'm actually going to start with Jett Luchanko. Because, this draft, it was very controversial, that pick. Yeah. Because they traded back and they didn't take Steve William, and all of the consensus had him higher than Luchanko, and that was considered a reach. But Jett Luchanko in the rookie camp and rookie games performed very well, and he hasn't missed a beat in regular camp, Bill, in the practices and scrimmage, and he certainly didn't miss a beat in the game with 2 assists.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the game itself in a second here. It's one of those we are with Luchanko and with the start of the preseason. It's a good time to remind yourself don't get too excited. It's just start a preseason. What I can say about Luchanko is he looks like he's a player, and in the pretty near future. I mean, you have to keep in mind that he's played scrimmages, rookie games, and a game against basically the Capitals had a lot of other prospects, young guys. So he hasn't really faced the top caliber opposition yet, NHL regulars. And you keep in mind the long season, you want to see him develop a little bit more, work on a shot, those kind of things, develop more of a shooting mentality, and continue to get bigger and stronger. And all that's right there for him, I think, over the next year. Now that being said, you can see all the elements there of someone who's going to be a very good hockey player. He's unusually mature as a two-way player, which is very rare for an 18-year-old, especially one who's expected to be an offensive contributor. And he's shown really good patience with the puck, really good ice vision, really good play off the puck. So he has all these elements that you can see you can see pretty clearly that this guy's going to be a very good player. And yeah, so far he's passed every test, and I think the one thing that really jumps out is he can fly. He can really skate.
It's legit. He's a legit skater. In today's game, you need speed, and you always want to add speed. But if you can add it with a very high hockey IQ guy, he just seems like he goes to the right places, anticipates the game very well. And the other thing about, you mentioned the word maturity in his game. Well, there's a lot of maturity off the ice, too, the way he carries himself. Yeah. For an 18-year-old, he's really got it together. So, look, you can see why the Flyers valued him the way they did in the draft with their, pre-draft meetings, and he's an impressive young man. So, again, does he get a look? I don't know. Before being sent back to junior, I don't think he should spend the season here. I don't. I think he should go back to Guelph and play in all situations a ton, work on some of those elements to be, don't rush him. There's not a reason to. Yeah. But he is very encouraging. I've been just so impressed with him on and off the ice. Let's get to Matvei Michkov, Bill, because one thing I noticed in the game, Flyers had 2 power play goals. I noticed he's playing with Morgan Frost and Owen Tippett, which is kind of what we laid out in the offseason as likely line mates that makes sense. And a very successful debut for him. And on the power play, he seemed to be the facilitator. Everything was going through him, and it worked because everybody was moving.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he was largely distributing, and you can go back to the scrimmage. The first scrimmage he played, where he kept the play alive up high. And then I guess most of the attention goes to Frost finish on the play, and Licksel's past him, but he doesn't keep the puck there. There is no play to make. And then the second power play goal the Flyers had. I mean, Michkov really set that all up. He really was the catalyst in how that. And they get to the puck to the net, and they scored one at the net there. Now, mind you, it's a blowout at 6-2 at that point. I don't care. You're working on your power play. The power play has been such a sore spot. It was really nice to see the team move the puck well and actually generate a couple goals. Preseason or not, that was really nice to see. Michkov has phenomenal anticipation, ice vision, and one of those guys who could pass a puck through the smallest space sometimes. Yeah. He has only the one goal that he tucked in so far in the rookie game. His shooting will get a little better as he goes along. He's had some chances. They'll start going in, and especially the goals aren't going to count in a couple weeks anyway. But very very impressive skill set, and so far really good chemistry with his 2 line mates too, which is that sometimes takes some time to build. You can put guys together who are really skilled and they sound good, and it sounds like a good combination on paper, and it doesn't work. I mean, so far so good, and so far there's other lines that are clicking too. So that's all positive stuff to build off of.
The thing is playing with a really skilled, creative playmaker can be difficult for some guys because they think of the game more nuts and bolts, right? Yeah. And it's like the left brain versus the right brain. Like, some people are really good at math, but stink at the creative process. Other people are really good at creative, but can't add 2 + 2. That's me. But so it's hard to play with those guys sometimes because you don't think like they do. He had good chemistry with Jett Luchanko in the rookie game, and then in those practices, and then immediate chemistry with Morgan Frost. And Bill, getting the 2 power play goals, belief starts early,
for sure,
for a team. And it starts early for good starts for not only Michkov, but also for Morgan Frost, because he has played with super skilled playmakers before. So this is, back in junior, this is not an area where he'll be overwhelmed by it. I think he's equally as creative. Those two, if they are on the same page, will be a nightmare to deal with because you won't ever know what they're going to do.
Yeah. And Frost has generally such a pass-first mentality. He's definitely always been more playmaker than scorer, but he doesn't have a bad shot, and he can score too. If he just keeps defenses honest a little bit by shooting, he's with 2 such skilled line mates here, that it's just a great combination. Yeah, you have Tippett with his size and speed, Frost with his playmaking, Michkov with his vision, playmaking, and ability to put pucks in the net too, and in very creative ways because he'll try just about anything. So that's it's a very promising combination that's going. And one thing I've noticed too with Michkov, saw a little bit on strain from the KHL last year, but noticed it even more in the scrimmages and in the first game too. He's very good at hiding out from the defense and then materializing right near the post.
Yeah.
And his linemates are going to get used to that. Looking for him, and he's going to have quite a few slam dunk goals because Frost will get him the puck, and Tippett draws so much attention anyway. He's so big and strong, and can take the puck to the net. That I think Michkov is going to score a lot of goals that way as he continues to go on here.
Being in the right spot again, that's that hockey IQ, offensive hockey IQ that he carries. Bill, we've talked about Joel Farabee quite a bit this offseason. His name was one that was often mentioned as a player to be moved. And, he comes into this season, he's one of those players that stayed in town, worked out. You see a lot of guys that put on a lot of muscle, and we'll get to them. But Joel Farabee getting off to a good start and sustaining it for 82 is really what it's about this year, learning from last year. He comes into the game, what a start for him. Goal and 3 assists. Looked like he had jumped right away in the game, and it's sustained throughout.
Yes. Yeah, so I love the Flyers' first power play goal because the bumper's been a sore spot for them.
Oh, my goodness.
And, this was tic-tac-toe, right? Frost skating downhill, to Tippett, directly to Farabee in the bumper and in the net. I mean, that's, if you could bottle that and bring some of that into the season, fantastic. Farabee looked very strong in the puck, very confident. Again, with the caveat for all these guys that this was not the Capitals' regular lineup, right? And it was a lot of prospects. But as we're going through this first game, you could hardly have scripted it better from the forwards you wanted producing. Pretty much everybody contributed something in this game, and there was the goaltending piece. The goaltending was solid, and team defense held them to 20 shots. I mean, you couldn't script a better start. I don't care who you're against. That's the kind of start you want to get off to.
Let's keep it with the forwards. One more player, Bobby Brink, with 2 goals in the game. When they were doing the skating test, I noticed his skating looked better.
Yeah.
It looked more efficient, too, because he was catching up the guy in front of him. That's hard to do in the skating test. And he's a guy, too, when you see him off the ice, if anybody wants to look at one of his media availabilities, he looks like he put on a lot. If you put somebody tweeted out the side-by-side of him last year at camp and this year, and he is considerably bigger and stronger, more muscle packed onto him. And look, this is, as these players get older and, you start to really develop your man muscles at 21, 22 for most guys.
Yeah.
And Bobby Brink looks really strong on the puck, more efficient in his stride, and it looked like a guy, frankly, in the game that doesn't want to spend any time on buses this year going to Lehigh.
Yeah. I mean, he's building his case to not just start the year with the team, because he did that last year.
Yeah.
But to be able to sustain it to where he stays with the big team. And it's inevitable the guys are going to move around the lineup a little bit, play with different line mates and whatnot. Brink has always been an offensive guy primarily. He's worked quite a bit on the checking side of it. He's had to work on the checking side because it's been an area where John Tortorella has not been very happy with him at times. So part of staying in the lineup is the checking side. But I think he's checked really well in the scrimmages, and obviously the 2 goals are really nice. But I really been impressed with his overall game in camp so far. And I mean, it's a really good starting place for him. You can see the confidence. You can see the physical makeup that he's had, and he's had the right work ethic too, the right mindset to come in and make a case here, try to make a statement from the beginning here. So all that's been good, and he actually had the first of the backhanded goals the Flyers had in this game.
Yeah,
they definitely were emphasizing putting backhanders on net, and at least in this game they kept going in too.
Yeah, I thought he performed really well. He just looked like he had a lot of jump right from the start of the game. You know, it was surprising because I remember last year, you and I discussed this too recently, where the Flyers had the skate test and scrimmages right away, and they iced a team in that first preseason game last year against the Devils that had nothing. I mean, they were shot with energy. The difference year to year, and as you go through it with the same coaching staff and expectation and knowing what's coming, maybe this speaks to this and preparing for it. They got shut out 6-0 in that first preseason game and had players that looked like they could barely get up and down the ice. Yeah. In this game, far different. Bill, I was really taken back the other day at Jamie Drysdale's media availability, not by a single word that he uttered, but when I saw him walk in and sit down, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, he looked so considerably bigger and stronger. I was stunned by it, and I had pulled him just after that for a conversation which people are going to hear coming up on Flyers Daily on Wednesday. And I asked him about, I said, you put on some muscle. And he said he played at 178 last year. He's weighing in at 196 right now. He put on 18 pounds of muscle. That is a huge difference. And I asked Travis Sanheim about it as well. And because he did the same thing, because he was a bean rail when he came into the league. And he put on muscle. And the difference it gives you mentally for a defender to go into board battles, to go back on pucks, it is a huge difference. You go in with a different mindset with that strength. And it didn't come at any cost of his skating, as we saw.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of that's like an old stereotype that you gain muscle, you lose speed.
Yeah.
The way the players train nowadays, it's like a lean muscle. You're adding a little bit of mass too, but most players can carry extra weight on them, muscular weight, and you're going to lose some of it during the season anyway because you're just not able to keep up with some of the same regimen. I think it's a testament to Drysdale coming off of the core muscle surgery because that's a long and tough rehab, and his and he didn't go into too much detail about it, but his was a little trickier, actually considerably trickier than Sean Couturier's type of surgery. So, but he just really staying here all summer, as you mentioned, and really just adding the weight. And I have to add to that too, that I was a little concerned during the skating test because he looked really uncomfortable out there. And a piece of that too is that as you're skating and exerting, it's just the last part of that rehab process is tearing up the scar tissue,
which is no fun.
It's no fun, and he was feeling it.
Yep,
he was feeling it. You just hope that just gets that out of the way. I thought he moved well. I thought he moved well in the first preseason game. He was jumping up in the play with a lot of confidence, and had some pretty good moments too in the scrimmages as well. So so far so good, and definitely he is one of the guys as you mentioned who've among multiple guys who had a muscle this offseason, but that's just dramatic change, particularly for a guy who's the biggest guy height wise too. That's a lot of strength to add in one off season.
And a guy who's dealt with some shoulder issues as well, having that extra strength upstairs certainly benefits. Bill, is he? I mean, this is a very subjective question, but is he perhaps the most important player for the Flyers this season? For so many reasons. Yes. Obviously, he's a top 4 defenseman, going to play a lot and play a lot of tough matchups. The trade, you have to consider that element of it, what he is going to mean for this team. And I think it's just a really pivotal year for him to perform very well, be available for the most, if not all of the season. I think he may be the most consequential player for this team this year.
Well, I think that the capacity of the blue line of your starting 6 is, I mean, York came along really nicely last year. Other guys came along as well, but if you really want to move up kind of in the tier where your blue line is around the league, I don't think there's any way around that. Drysdale is a critical player in that.
Yeah.
Because of his ability to join plays up ice, trigger rushes, hopefully helping a power play kind of role this year where the Flyers need more than just Michkov. It's a bunch of guys who have to step up in that area this year. And then there's also the further defensive adjustments because now he's more familiar with the Flyers systems. It's less of a shock to him as a sea change of what he was used to in Anaheim. Now he's here from day one in camp. Can watch more film. There's more time to prepare. And defensive development was something he definitely needed last year. He was still kind of raw defensively. So, it's not all in the points, but just his all-around development this year, I think it's crucial that he steps up to be more of a top 3 guy, honestly. He's paired with a defensive defenseman in Nick Seeler who can cover from in some ways. Everybody knows what Seals brings. It's the physical presence, the shot blocking, the toughness, being a good team guy, and Drysdale just continuing to learn, continuing to develop. In the scheme of players that need to have big jumps this year, to me, he's right near the top.
Yeah. And the thing is, if I'm the coach, I show him a lot of film of Sean Walker last year. Yeah. Know that your partner in Nick Seeler is going to be back and have you covered. He's not going to be thinking offense. You can think offense. You can surf forward. You can pressure and move pucks up the ice quick and join the rush. That's what Walker did. And that's why Walker got paid this offseason, frankly. That's why the Flyers got a first-round pick for Sean Walker in the trade, too, because he excelled in that. And I think Jamie Drysdale can do exactly that as well. One of the interesting things, Bill, Jamie said he stayed here. A lot of guys stayed here this summer, and I don't begrudge guys that don't stay here. They go back and they train, they do their thing, and like Travis Sanheim goes back to the farm, and Travis Konechny, and those two players got off to perhaps the best starts last year of anybody. So I don't begrudge that. But part of culture and, kind of reaffirming or reestablishing a culture is exactly that. When you see guys come back into camp that have packed on the muscle, put in the work that they have, it's about being a pro every day during the season and being prepared and taking care of your body, your mind, and all that to play at peak performance hockey. But it's also about the off season, and judging by the looks of it, the culture and the standard of what the accountability these players are held to during and the off season is certainly intact, and that needed to happen.
No, for sure. It's a 365-day responsibility. We were talking at the top here about how today's preseason training camps, it's short, just a couple practices, and then you're playing scrimmages. It's a far cry from when they would tell guys, well, try to come to camp within 5 pounds of your playing weight.
Yeah.
And you try to work your way into shape in camp, and hopefully when the season starts, be in hockey shape. You can't do that now. There's just enough run-up time.
You'll never catch up.
Yeah, you'll never catch up. You'll spend the whole season chasing it. So it's crucial that you put in the work in the off season, and you can't hide it. If somebody doesn't, it's very obvious very quickly. So having that, and not the players in previously were working harder or whatever, but it's also diet and working smarter and just a lot of things, right? That you're not saying, okay, well, we have plenty of time to get ready, and they begin skating fairly late in the process. Guys fall into that summer hockey mentality with bad habits in a lot of cases. I'm not seeing any bad habits. Guys came in ready to go, in a hockey sense.
The interesting thing, seeing that and seeing all those guys come in, last year, like they got off to a really good start to the season. And it was a question I've been wondering, can they repeat that? Because as we mentioned with the power play earlier, belief is instilled immediately, and it's a wave you can ride, but you got to catch the wave early.
Yeah.
You got to get it early in the set. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But I've been really impressed with the rookie camp, rookie scrimmages. And so far, the play of Carson Bjarnason, now he only played a period in the game against the Capitals and the shootout, which they just did at the end to practice it. But I've been really impressed with his game. It looks like a more mature goaltender to me. I think he maybe, Kolosov's not here. We all know that. It's an opportunity for him to further put himself on the radar and in the plans. And he looks like he's had a really good offseason coming out of last season.
Yeah. Another guy who's added a lot of strength.
He really has.
Yeah. And for me with prospects, camp is really important in terms of year-to-year progression. What is he showing this September compared to last September, particularly in a position where it's a long development cycle.
Yeah.
So you know that next year he'll be with the Phantoms, but it's is he with the Phantoms for 2 seasons? Is he Phantom for 1 season? Maybe graduates the next year. I mean, all that's yet to be determined. But when you look at year-to-year progression, I'm really happy with his progression from the beginning of camp last year to this season. And with goalies particularly, you can't always go by statistics. Like his Brandon Wheat Kings teams, they're not what they used to be. The Wheat Kings still can have they're a pretty big name team in the Western League because they have such a storied history. But it's been a struggle for the team the last 2 years. So that's going to affect your goalie, whoever your goalie is. It's going to pull his stats down a little bit. Honestly, you can look at it kind of each step here. Development camp this summer, the World Junior Summer Showcase with Canada, and rookie camp. There was a big difference I thought in the rookie games compared to a year ago. A year ago, I thought he was a little all over the place, a little overplaying, and rather than getting his angle and letting his body make the saves. And I thought he carried that right. And only 1 period, but he saw 9 shots, and the game got to be a blowout in the 3rd period. And sometimes that's kind of a nightmare for a goalie coming in.
Yeah.
Because,
the attention to detail lacks when that happens.
All the detail lags. Yeah. So far so good. Big year for his development. Love to see him play in the World Juniors.
Yeah.
And
he's in that mix, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he's got a pretty good chance to be the starter. I think he's a really good chance of making the team, and he's really competing to be the number 1 guy. So I think that's out there for him to win, coming this season, and I think he earned, probably another game, at least another game with in the NHL preseason before he goes back to Brandon, hopefully in a good mindset and builds from there.
Yeah, and the Flyers will be back at it tonight in Montreal. I'm expecting a completely different team.
Oh, yeah.
Because that team had to bus back from Washington. Other teams got to get to Montreal, go through customs, the whole thing. So I would expect a totally different team. Ivan Fedotov did play the first 2 periods in the game, Bill. I think it was really hard to kind of judge anything on his game because he just didn't see a ton of pucks.
Yeah.
The first goal that goes in goes off Sealer, who's trying to block the shot. Nothing you can do there. Second one was a great shot, but just didn't see a ton. The only thing I really kind of have noticed in camp and in the scrimmages and a little bit in the game was he does look a bit more fluid in movement. I thought he was very rigid in movement last year. And big guys are always going to look a little different the way they move around that. Like, he's a really big guy, right? Like, Ben Bishop always looked a little bit rigid in movement when you compared him to smaller guys. And a Carey Price, who was so fluid. Pekka Rinne, even though he was big, was very fluid. But he did look like he had a little more flow to his game.
Yeah.
What'd you see out of Fedotov? Or have you seen? Yeah.
Yeah. One thing so far I think is that he's used his size to look around traffic better. That's one adjustment. You mentioned about the fluidity part of it, and he definitely did look stiff last year. And if you got him moving, he was in trouble.
Yeah. Because
he lacked that fluid movement side to side and those kind of things. So open him up and he was toast. And then that's in a very small sample size and whatever. But so far kind of so good. As he said, the 2 goals today, nothing you could do about the Sealer goal, and the other one was just almost like an Ovechkin like one time. That was just one of those all good night face off at center ice, tip your hat to the shooter. So yeah, so far so good. I really want to see more of him. I don't think you can really form an impression of him yet. I'd like to see him really start to push Sam Ersson.
Yeah,
and I mean, right now there's a pretty clear starter and backup. I'd like to see him at least challenged for a 1A 1B kind of thing as you're going along. You're not going to determine that in a couple days of camp, but yeah, so far he definitely looks a little bit better.
I think the biggest key for him, and I don't know where he is in this regard as an NHL goalie, is the ability to read plays and anticipate. I think they attack you so much different in the NHL than they do in any other league, Olympic or in the KHL. His ability to anticipate plays, not overplay them, use his size, be positionally sound, and have the right depth, I think is going to be the key. The depth part, not because he would make himself small. He'll never be small. Because if your depth is right, you have less distance to travel on lateral plays, and the NHL is all lateral plays.
All lateral plays for sure. and the other thing, and we saw this even last year, and he had the reputation. You could see why it was, why he has it and was justified. Even saw some examples of it with the Flyers. Very good puck handling goalie.
Yep.
So that's an asset that he can bring. I think that's somewhere he can. I think even gain as he gains some more confidence. I think you'll see even more of that from him.
Yeah, as you're more comfortable in just stopping pucks, then you'll get out there and be assertive, knocking down rims, starting to break out, get that communication with your defense, and the D loves when they don't have to go all the way back for a puck. You just make it so much easier on them. They'll take that all day. Yeah. And there's a few Russian goalies that can really handle the puck well. And, I mean, you look at Shesterkin, I don't think there's a better puck handler in the league right now. He'll stretch pass you, too. You cannot dump it behind his net because he'll start the breakout. Last thing, Bill, a player that didn't play in the game, and I don't know if he'll play tonight or not, he had a surgery as well, although less invasive as Jamie Drysdale's, as you mentioned, is Sean Couturier. He's really come in with a very fresh mindset. What have you seen out of Couturier so far? He made a pass in the scrimmage that was just unbelievable. Look, he's never going to be a guy that you're going to look at him and go, man, he's flying out there like as a burner. But I think he's looked pretty darn good thus far in what I've seen of him in the scrimmages and the practices.
Yeah, he's such a true pro.
Yeah.
That I think at times in his career before the surgeries, before really kind of being hampered in the second half of last season, you got a little spoiled watching. You took for granted a lot of things that in terms of details, the details with Couturier are always right. Very, 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 very rarely does he make a mental mistake, and that's To me, it's been okay. It's Sean Couturier, right? And he also has the offensive end of the game too, where he's a guy who scored 30 goals back-to-back years.
So, had 76 points plus.
Yeah. So
a couple of times.
He can still play. He just has to stay healthy, and we're not going to know that September. We need to see that over the season, but everything so far has looked like Sean Couturier. He looks like himself, and that's the good news therein.
We knew something was up last year when the face-off numbers decreased, and also when he was on the ice for a lot of goals against, and he just was not going to the right places. That's when you knew that he was dealing with something. So we'll see where he is when he gets into some preseason action. Maybe that'll be tonight. We shall see. Great stuff from you, Bill. As always, read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. Flyers will be back at it tonight. Coming up Wednesday, we got a Boffo episode. We're going to have Jamie Drysdale on the show. We're going to have a bunch of guys, actually, including Jett Luchanko. We're also going to have Travis Sanheim. So we got a lot of fun coming up this week as camp continues. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time on a brand new Flyers Daily.